It was super inspiring to even just watch that. I mentioned to you, how ambitious I feel like you have to be to step into that role, to speak every night. So just tell me, what fueled you every night to take that initiative to go after that?
Honestly, the people. When I first kicked off our campaign, immediately it was just constant contact with the community, constant contact with people, and literally every day hearing people's stories, whether they were good or bad, literally just inspired me to keep going the next day. I had a door knock every day throughout the summer, almost every day, and talking to people at their doors in intimate settings, and having them allow me into their house to really share their stories. Like, okay, I can't wait to do this again the next day. And I had an amazing team, amazing support. My family definitely, drove me to continue, as well as my job supported me, my friends. I just had a lot of support, so it kept me going.
What do you think is your biggest takeaway from the experience overall? Like every night, like what made you go home? Like what did you think about when you got home after a long day of work?
The biggest takeaway, honestly, was just the people, like how people felt, like how invested. I learned like how invested people are in their communities and where they're raising their families and raising their children and where they work. I've grown up in being born and raised in New Britain. Like I know how I was invested in the city, and when you're just kind of going throughout the day, you don't really get to learn other people's stories and how invested they are. So being able to talk to people of all ages, all different races, religions, it was just like a huge takeaway. It taught me a lot. Like, we get stuck in our ways, like, oh, we know everything. Right. But when you're talking to people, you're like, damn, I can learn something every single day. Like every single day was an educational moment for me. Yeah. I feel like I was in school again, like all over.
Would you go after it again, or?
I know for a fact I'm going to stay involved in politics, whether that be at the city level or the state level. I think it's my civic duty to do so. And I want to continue to be a role model for other people, knowing that we should be involved in politics and we have to really exercise our freedom to be able to not only vote, but to get involved, to have a seat at the table, to bring more representation, add color to the table, which we don't have right now in a lot of places and spaces. So absolutely, I feel like I have to.
And lastly, what would you say to a young person who's trying to get into politics or just learn more about it? Because again, like you mentioned, it's kind of our duty, but also it's our responsibility to educate ourselves. But are there resources right now that we can, as young people of color, that can really educate us on the whole topic?
One of the biggest things for me and what I learned is that we as people need to understand that politics is not just what we see at the national level. Right? Like politics is so important at the local level. It doesn't matter if you're an artist, if you're a rapper, you are in a profession as a teacher, no matter what you're trying to do, what you're trying to inspire to be, politics affects you no matter what, right? It affects every industry, our healthcare industry, our artistic industry. It affects your day-to-day, your family, your kids, your education, your job. And we need to be able to show that and have our communities understand that I can be an aspiring musician, but I should also be involved in the politics as well because it affects me. And what happens is we don't have enough diversity at the table, right? To be making these policies. Like we don't have the artist at the table. We don't have the person that is representing this religion or this industry at the table to be able to help make these decisions. It's all the same people coming from the same areas, the same industries, the same type of jobs, people who have been in politics their entire lives making these decisions.
So do you think there's a lack of resources provided to young people to really be, again, educated about what they should know?
Absolutely.
Or what do you think is the issue there, or the kind of distance between young people and, again, people in politics?
Our system doesn't do a good job at implementing politics into our school systems at all, right? Like our school systems are so old and traditional, and we've been learning the same things over and over and over. And we do learn about politics. We learn about our presidential history, which is great, right? We should, but I think in the school system, they need to implement how local politics affects your day-to-day living, how your state politics affects your day-to-day living, and history just around that, and how that really leads up to the our national political climate. I think that's where we miss, and it's like a lot of things, right? Our school system is really failing at showing kids how to budget, right? To learn real life experiences, bringing finance into the school system. We need to do the same thing with politics, which some school systems have, but we need to do a better job. From being on this campaign is that people our age, people that are younger than us, teenagers, don't know who their city representation is, right? They don't know who their councilman is, who their councilwoman is. They don't know who represents their neighborhoods and their districts. And that taught me that we are literally keeping information from our communities and their resources on who they can contact to even advocate for themselves, right? So you're in an underserved neighborhood that's been oppressed and marginalized for years, but you don't even know who your representative is or your councilman to even assist you with getting some political representation. And not only has our education system kind of failed that, getting that to the community, I think our political atmosphere has not assisted with bringing the resources to our communities as well.